My name's Leanne Vogel. I blog over at healthfulpursuit.com, and I'm the best-selling author of The Keto Diet, The Keto Diet Cookbook, Keto for Women, and you are watching The Keto Diet Podcast, episode 330, where I'm joined today by my friend Jennifer, who has her practice in Wyoming, and we're going to be talking all about how to support your body outside of nutrition choices. We're talking about lymphatic drainage, how to find the best doctor, gut health, water, whole bunch of things, and she even does a video demonstration of how to support your lymphatic system. I want to thank quickly our sponsor for today's show, who is Paleo Valley. You can find details down below on how to save some money and my favorite products from them. So without further ado, let's cut over to this interview, shall we? Hey Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm so great. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so glad that you're here on the show.
Thank you. Me too. It's been I've been looking forward to it. Such a pleasure.
Yes, awesome. So I'd love for you, I did the official bio, introduced you, talked about all your board certifications, super smart stuff. But in your own words, how did you get into the work that you're doing today?
Oh, well, everybody has their journey, right? I mean, you think about people's journey and how they get led down the paths that they do. And mine actually happened to be through my little sister. She was born very prematurely, 30 years ago. So at that time, science and medicine wasn't quite up to par as they are now. She weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces and literally fit into the palm of my mom's hand. Kind of just a little bit of preface there is I had a previous sister that didn't make it because of the same complications. So when she was born, I was just like, what can I do? Where can I go with this? That I want to be the best big sister. I want to help out with anything. And she was doing fabulous until about the age of 5. And then she started having some seizures. And I wanted to become a neonatologist. I wanted to work with babies. I wanted, all those monitors and, the dynamics of everything was incredible. But when she started having seizures, the doctors could not figure out what to do for her. They would throw medicine at her. They would be like, we don't know. And they weren't grand mal seizures, but they were debilitating for her. They were debilitating for our entire family, to be honest with you. And so my family, at the time, they reached out to a holistic doctor, which was very outside of the box. Who knew about that back then? Well, obviously it was there, but so this woman taught my sister how to eat better, or taught my mom how to feed my sister different foods, some supplementation, some, movement, breathing exercises, just really looked at my sister as a whole. And my sister stopped having seizures. And so for me, at then 15 years old, looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. This is really amazing. And then I started down my health journey with her, of course, because the whole family did, watching this. And then life kind of led me in a different direction. So I ended up going down the Western medicine path for quite a while, for about another 12, 15 years. And at age 30, I decided, you know what, I'm not getting any younger and I want to figure this out. So I decided to start my journey back into that holistic realm that felt so good to me. And so that is kind of what I did.
Wow, and that you could have that life experience that kind of led you to the work that you're doing today. And I know that the best practitioners are ones that have stories like yours of just they're in it, I feel like, for the right reasons. And I probably want to get into that later, of just being your own health advocate. And you know what, let's just go there now, because I feel
Sure.
like a lot of us, my mom was diagnosed with a bunch of different complications last year, and her doctors are sort of like, this is aging and this is all you can do. And my mom went into the doctor last week and said, I really feel like we need to test more. I don't know what's going on here. I just really like some answers. And the doctor said, no, we're not going to test for that. And so how do we become our how do we become advocates for ourselves? And what did you see previously in Western medicine? And what do you see in your practice today as it results into advocates, and what kind of clients are you seeing?
Well, I think the first thing is, the doctors are there. They're there for a reason. And we do need them. We actually do need them. But sometimes they don't know what to do, right? That they learned from a book. They have a criteria that they have to do. And with holistic medicine, we are able to actually look outside of that box. So, the one thing that I absolutely hated was that I would watch the doctors just hand out meds, right? And the client would come back and say, I've got this complication and something else is happening. I'm getting swelling, I'm getting headaches, whatever. They kind of just blow that off and here, take this other medicine. And so that was super, super frustrating to me because I knew from back, watching my sister, I knew that there are different options. I think the biggest thing is knowing that you do have a voice. We all have a voice, and we need to remember that we need to ask for what we need, what we want, what feels good to us. Because we know what's going on inside of our body, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, it does not matter. And with that being said, we are our biggest advocates. And if we don't ask for that, or if we don't know, or find someone that is willing to look outside of the box, with you and look at us as a whole, because what works for you doesn't necessarily work for me, and what works for me doesn't work for the person next to me. So I think that's so important.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get a little bit overwhelmed because they feel things. They're like, this hurts, that hurts. I don't think this is normal. I didn't feel this before. I don't know what this is, but I know I need help. Is that okay? Like, is that enough?
Right. And so that's, I feel like, where people do get in trouble as well, because then they turn to the internet. And when they turn to the internet, then they turn to all of these fake, toxic things that they can then put in their body that is supposed to cure all, right? And in all reality, sometimes a headache is from the lack of lymphatic flow in the neck. So what do? They start taking all these meds, or they can't sleep, and so they throw melatonin, or they throw other things at their systems, when in all reality, it could very well be, the lack of minerals. I mean, there are so many things to look at. And I think we all get tied into, well, my friend told me about this supplement, or my friend told me about this and it worked for her, so it's got to work for me. And sometimes what happens is it does work for a minute, and then people plateau again. And that is what I have found in my practice, is that people are reaching, and in all reality, practitioners like myself, we are there to help you on your health journey. So we try to meet you where you are right now and lead you in the path that you need to go, whether it's from, traumatic experiences, or the overdose of antibiotics at a young age, or, just feeling lost in your life. There's so many things.
Yes. And I think too, I can tell this in my own practice when people have a lot of friends and they're like, oh, well, that supplement worked or that practice worked. And you get their intake form and they're on 50 different supplements. And they're like, I can't keep doing this. If you're going to tell me to take one more supplement. And I'm like, no, we're taking all
Yeah.
of this away. Like
Yeah.
every single last thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that
Yeah. And
also?
so I see that a lot. And, people come in and they say, I don't feel well. I feel toxic. I have brain fog. My stomach's not, and they come in and I look at their supplements. Number one, I look at the brand of their supplements and I'm like, okay, well, you're actually creating more toxicity in your body. Number one. Number two, your body's trying to do something, right? We have our own natural processes that we do. And if you are putting in too many potentially unhealthy, unnatural things, your body has to do something with some of them. So your body's going to essentially store those supplements. it's not going to really utilize them, which then creates more toxicity in the body overall. And so, yeah, I come in and they're like, same thing. Please don't give me another supplement. I'm like, nope, actually, we're going to take you away. And the thing that I find that's so interesting is that so many people become attached to these supplements. They are very emotionally attached. And when you try to take something away from them, they're like, well, I need that for X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, right, but you don't need that right now. Like, let's look at that later. Right. So it's also just kind of backtracking, getting people back to that foundational place where then we can start to grow. I always talk about it like building a house. You cannot physically furnish a house if you don't have the foundation. And if your foundation is not strong, what's going to happen is your house is going to blow down. Or, maybe not blow down, but you're going to have to replace it after a while. And that's just part of the aging process too.
Yes, completely. And so how do we, we're talking about being your own advocate and showing up for yourself. I feel like when you ask somebody who's not overly conscious over their body of like, what's happening here and how do I feel with this, that people can get really overwhelmed with starting to feel all the feels with their body.
Sure.
Do you have any recommendations on that and kind of how to
No.
navigate that space? And if you see that for your clients also?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of different like pathways to go with that. Number one is simply just sitting down and having a conversation with them. Because through conversation, I actually learn the most. And that's because they know what's going on. They may not be consciously aware of it, but subconsciously they know, and they will tell me if I listen. And so that's part of the biggest thing is, I do have them fill out the intake form, which oftentimes a lot of stuff is missed when we start talking through stuff. And then I also use bioresonance technology. Bioresonance technology is much like in the Western medicine, an EKG or an EEG, a lie detector test. So I have people, also kinesiology. Some people know it as kinesiology. I just don't physically touch the body. I have them hold on to some electrodes that run frequencies through their body, and their body will respond to those. So after I do their initial intake form, I do the conversation piece, then I will connect them to the bioresonance. And it's so fascinating because 9.9 times out of 10, they see the entire picture. And that's really cool.
I think something that speaks true to finding a good doctor is conversation. Like something you just said is like, I have a conversation with them. And that's something that I've noticed in my practice and just through connecting with my family members who are older and looking for doctors who can be there, be on their side and listen to them, that listening conversation piece is missing out of the component. Would you agree with that?
No question. No question. And it's also how open and willing is your client? Where are they? Are they willing? Are they truly looking for support? Because if they are, it's that honesty piece that has to come out. And the more that they hide from us as practitioners, the harder it is for us to really figure out and help them, on their journey. I mean, we can still help them, but when we, I oftentimes find where we'll start and I'll get down, in that right path, and then they throw a left ball at me, right? And I'm like, whoa, wait, why? Let's step back. How come we didn't talk about that at the beginning? Oh, I totally forgot. Okay, well, that's a really big piece of the puzzle. So let's go back to that, So it's also just kind of maneuvering and just trying to pick up those little pieces along the way.
Yeah, my next question was going to be, how do you talk with your doctor properly so that you get somewhere? And I think you answered that before I could, and that honesty is a big thing. And I think a lot of people in today's day and age, we go in quite guarded too. I think a lot of people are guarded. They don't want to share all the information. They don't feel like it's essential or that it matters, or they don't really want to share everything. And so what I'm
Sure.
hearing from you is having that honesty, showing up with all your cards on the table and and trying your best to explain everything. Would that be fair to say?
I would say absolutely. I also think, as someone that's coming in and, willingly open themselves up, I think it's extremely important to create a dialogue prior to that. And so like for our clinic, we do what are called discovery calls, where you can schedule a 30-minute complimentary session, whether you're talking to one of the staff members or myself, and we create a relationship and we kind of see like where they'll kind of dabble in. I've got these health issues, my digestive system, or I've had multiple concussions, or whatever that looks like or feels like to them. But then they get to hear our voice, and is my voice soothing to them? Is my energy soothing to them? Are they willing to open up to me and let me, give them the knowledge that I know and help guide them along this way? Or am I not a good fit? And that's okay. And I think before people open up their entire life story, I want to make sure I'm a good fit for someone, and I want to make sure that they're a good fit for me too, because it goes both ways.
Such a good point. So good. Thank you so much for adding that. Um, and so let's talk a little bit, you mentioned a little bit like the pain in the neck, lymphatic system. Can we go there? Because a lot of people don't know what the lymphatic system is or the role that it plays and the issues that can come up when it's not working right.
Absolutely. I mean, the lymphatic system is such an intricate piece of our entire world, entire health. And it's something that it's becoming more and more talked about, but it's something that nobody really talks about. We hear about gut health. Gut health is huge. Gut health is like, you can turn every corner and you're going to hear about gut health, whether it's a probiotic, a prebiotic, food, whatever. But the reality of it is our lymphatic system is this extremely incredible organ in our body that is 2/3 of the fluid. 1/3 of that is our circulatory system. And we hear about that all the time. People go to their doctor to get blood work done because they want to see what's going on in their blood. But in reality, it's what is our lymphatic system doing? And our lymphatic system is like our superhighway. You're on the highway. I'm in Wyoming here, so I don't have major highways, but California, right? I don't even know what the highways are called. You have a pileup somewhere, right? And you have cars backed up for hours. Well, that's what happens in our body. And so when we get nodules, whether they're in our neck, in our groin area, in the back of our knees, in our stomach, when that happens, everything seems to back up. It's kind of like a dam and a lake, right? You've got the lake that needs to be filled up by the dam, but the dam is literally permanently closed and the water can't bypass it. So we've got to unlock that dam. We've got to open up those nodules so that the lymphatic system can continue to move on, because it truly is our immune system. It truly is our sewer system. So, I'm so intrigued by it. I've been working on my gut health for a very long time, due to long dose or a lot of antibiotics. And I just got to the point, I'm like, why can I not figure out this extra, like this 15%? There's 15% missing. And as a practitioner, that just makes me want to pull my hair out, because I know a lot, but I couldn't figure it out until I figured it out. And I was like, oh, this is why these aren't falling together. So getting that lymphatic system moving, and it's so easy. We can do it from home. We just need to know how to do it. And we need to we all need to do it ourselves, is what we need to do, because it doesn't have a pump like our circulatory system. So movement and breath work are two key pieces to that. And it's starting to utilize those mechanics that we already have in place.
Okay. So many questions. First is, how does it get closed? You mentioned a little bit movement and breathing techniques. I'm sure that gets it going, but why is it a problem to begin with? Like, what happens
Sure.
that it
Oh,
creates the pile up?
so many things can happen. So I'll just kind of run through a couple of them. Scars. So surgeries. So think about someone, a beautiful mother that had C-sections. They've got a scar that is right down in the lower abdominal region. And so when anything comes up from the legs or tries to go down from the stomach, it's stuck. There's a roadblock. So scars are number one. Stress. Nobody in this world is stressed right now, right? We should all be having fluid lymphatic systems. Stress, huge, huge, huge problem. Tight clothing, the air that we're breathing, the food that we're eating, Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, Wi-Fi slows the body down. Our light bulb in our body gets very dim and those processes slow down. So our river, our lymphatic river slows down. Oh my gosh, there's so many more. Breast enhancements, car accidents. I mean, it doesn't have to be a scar. It can be anything that's traumatic to the body. Life, period. Life slows our lymphatic system down, period.
And so I imagine like a lot of people do like rebounding or dry brushing. Is that all lymphatic related?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a matter of learning the proper techniques for it, because oftentimes, you see people do the dry skin brushing, amazing work, but they teach you to go from your feet up. But when you go from your feet and move towards your heart, that's great. But the clavicle region here has a thoracic duct. That major thoracic duct is right up here on the left side that controls 75% of the lymphatic system into the circulatory system. So if that is clogged, you're moving toxins, but they're not going anywhere. So you've got to learn the right steps and approaches in order for that superhighway to be cleared out and allowing that traffic to flow. And so that is on my list of the next couple things I want to do, is put together a video for people to be able to see this.
When it goes live, could you please share it with us so that I can
Yes,
put it in the show
absolutely.
notes for today's episode? Because that would be so great to have that resource. Because yeah, I mean, I learned that you go from the limbs to the heart. So
Correct.
clearly I've been doing it wrong for 17
and
years.
We do go from the limbs to the heart, but we've got to open up the clavicle region. I mean, I can do, like, if you all want me to, I can do a quick little demonstration of.
Do it.
Okay. So the first thing, this is so simple, is the first thing we want to do is right up here, like, you can see above the clavicle, you're literally just going to rub about 10 times. You can do it like this. You can do it one at a time. It doesn't matter. Once you do that 5-10 times, don't stress over it because it's not a big deal. Then you're going to pat it. You just want to kind of get it moving. Okay. The next place you go is your neck. So you go up mastoid bone and kind of work your way down. You can move it up through your jaw, your face, but you really just want to pull down out of that area that you just opened up. So we give it a little pat. Then we go to our armpits, really. And you're going to pull it in. You're going to do the same thing 10 times on each side. You're going to do a little pat. And I'm now going to stand up because I got to keep going down the body. So then we go to the stomach area. I like to put my hand above my belly button, my right hand, because right about 3 fingers above my belly button and over to the left about 1 inch is where a massive amount of nodes live. So I put my hand here, and I just kind of do a little belly rub about 10 times. Give it a little pat. Then you're going to go down to your groin area. Do the same thing. Do a little pat. Then behind your knees. So you just rub behind your knees, a little pat. Then the key is to bounce. You literally just create that piston. That piston of bouncing, kind of like that rebounder, is then going to allow that flow to move. So it's opening up these pathways in a specific manner that allows for the flow. So doing that first thing in the morning is key. If you get clogged up or you get like your lymph nodes are tight, like for me, it is my groin area. My lymph nodes were so sore for a couple of days. So you go lighter. You're your lymph nodes are not deep. Just go lighter or only do a couple rubs. If you get flu-like symptoms, that means you need more water. We need water, we need water, we need water. Not all water is created equal, but that's a whole other topic. So really finding that proprietary blend of frequencies that allow the water to get into the cells and become intracellular hydration versus extracellular hydration, I think is the most important thing. And so, so that is just a quick, easy thing, along with, to add one more little piece to that, is belly breathing. Just stop and breathe for a minute. When we breathe, when we do that diaphragmatic breathing, so putting that air into our belly, what we're really doing is we're massaging our organs. We're allowing oxygenation to get into different places, as well as moving the lymph. So there we go.
Wow, I've been doing it wrong for so many years. Thank you for that.
No, not wrong. This is just a little bit more effective. How's that?
Okay. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. I like that.
It's an upgrade.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, we release our podcast episodes as videos also. So if everyone's listening to this and they're like, what just happened? What did Jennifer do? You can jump on YouTube. I'll include the link and you guys can watch it there also. Because that's really, really helpful. And I imagine it not taking that long. I mean,
it
seems pretty efficient.
Literally, you get into the flow of it and it's 60 seconds. That's it.
Everyone has
you don't
60
need to spend
seconds.
all day. We don't need to spend all day doing it.
I love it. And so you commented a little bit on gut health and that kind of being the crux of a lot of our health issues. You know, the lymph you said was like the missing 15%. But where do we go wrong with the gut stuff? And what are some of the contributors to our gut health? We have a lot of women that are listening to the show and they feel like they do everything right nutritionally. Like they're on top of it, they're rotating foods, they're doing everything, but they're just not getting success. And I know in my practice, working with clients, it's like 90% or more people, it's the gut that's stopping them from reaching their goals. So can we talk a little bit about what you're seeing in your practice?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things I see is the inability to absorb. I think that's probably the biggest hindrance. And so, you know, when they do come in with these 15 supplements, they're not absorbing anything. So I like to take a step back and look at how we can do it, depending on what they're missing. You know, what's the missing link there? Have they been on antibiotics? Is it stress related? Like, yes, you know, rotating the food, huge. The mental aspect of it, what are they holding on to? And if they've cleared that out and they're not holding on to anything there, I really feel like at this juncture, you know, spore-based probiotics have been a huge benefit to my practice, along with liquid nutrition. I think the liquid aspect, and you know, oftentimes I get pushback for liquid because people don't like the taste of it, but if the body has an inability to absorb, we've got to get nutrients in somehow. Sometimes I'll have clients go do nutritional IVs just to get the nutrients in, but that doesn't heal the stomach. So then you still have to create that environment in the gut to create healing. So, you know, when I listen to podcasts, I'm like, give me some more information. Like, what do you do? And so, you know, for me, I use L-glutamine powder. L-glutamine powder has been incredibly beneficial. Spore-based probiotics, along with some prebiotics. Not everybody needs that. So I think that that's the most important thing. Another huge thing is ionic minerals. And they're all just massive healing pieces that we don't know. Castor oil packs. I don't know if you are familiar with those. Castor oil packs, incredible. Enemas, and you know, that's kind of one of those places where you either love to go or you don't love to go. Talking about poop, we always talk about poop. And but yeah, if you are clogged, if you've got some constipation going on, you've got to get that moving. So whether you use a magnesium citrate, a magnesium malate, getting, massages, castor oil packs, enemas, whatever it might be, you got to get that flow going. You got to release those toxins, hydration, fiber.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot of women feel like going 2 or 3 times a week is totally normal. Um,
I mean, I used to
it's
be one of
not
those people.
normal.
It is not normal. You should be going 2 to 3 times a day, not more than that. 2 times a day is what they say, morning and morning, afternoon. That is a really healthy stomach. That is not typical of 99% of people, even if we just try to get some of that elimination going at least once a day.
And do you use like GI maps or testing in your practice to kind of delve into what could be happening in the gut?
So yes, I do. Yes, I use microbiome labs, GIF, or their GI testing. It's called Biome FX, I think. And then I also use some food testing to find out what sensitivities are going on to try to remove those toxins. Because the reality is as we're trying to support the body, if we keep loading the body with toxins, or these foods or air that we're breathing, or the toxins that we're putting on our body through whether it's lotion and makeup, perfumes, we continue to retoxify. So it's like this, the body's like, well, wait, you want me to do this, but now you want me to do this? Not like, it's that like ping pong effect that goes on. And so it's really great. And it's not that you have to be perfect. I think people think, oh my gosh, well, I cannot eliminate my creamer in my coffee. No, you don't necessarily have to do that, but let's cut back on everything else. If that's your staple for the day, that's fine. But let's forget about the cheese on your, omelet later in the day, or whatever that is. I think it's really, to me, it's about moderation. To me, unless you're in a space that has to have true, like, cut this out or else, if you're in a disease state, yes, you might have to cut something out. You might just have to for a bit. Otherwise, let's just moderate and see what happens. And people will start to feel the benefits of that, and then they want to continue it. And that's, I think, where the benefit truly comes from.
Completely. And as you start to become more and more conscious and aware of your food choices and your activities, if you're eating, like you mentioned, dairy, if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the snacks, and you moderate it and you have the creamer that you love, 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 and maybe you have cheese at lunch, you're like, actually, that doesn't make me feel good. And then you start making choices toward feeling better and not just being in the driver's seat of your own health, I think is the big thing that I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But because we can give you, as a practitioners, we know this, we can give you the information, but we can't feed you. We can't wake you up in the morning. We could go for a walk with you, but it's really about being truly your own health advocate. Like, you have to be accountable, because don't put it on my shoulders if you choose to not do the work. Right. And that's one thing as a practitioner that I have had a hard time coming to grips with, because I want everybody to feel better. I want everybody to walk away from me being like, she was a key piece of my health journey. Right. But that doesn't always happen. And then I think, why did that not happen for this person? And it wasn't my fault. Maybe I could have done something a little bit different, but did they do the work? I always have to ask myself, did they do the work? And if they didn't, well, maybe it wasn't quite their time. And that's okay too, because things get in the way. Life gets in the way. Unexpected things get in the way. And you have all intentions to do all these healthy things for yourself. But, you get a phone call that derails that. You walk into work, it derails that. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed, maybe it derails it. But tomorrow's always a newer day, right? We have today, fine, let it go. But tomorrow, let's try tomorrow. And I think that that's important, is to just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Completely. I feel that way also. Like we'll get a client to a good place and then, or sort of, and they'll do the work, but then they kind of slide back and I'm trying to help them and then they just stop showing up. And I'm like,
Yep.
we have like, you just need to do this and we're so close. We're so close. And it really, it's taken me a long time to have the same thing as like, it's not just me. It has to be the client also. And if they're not willing and they don't show up for themselves, and I think too, your comment of things getting in the way, oftentimes what I think of for myself personally is what am I willing to give up to do XYZ? So what is actually important to get in the way? And I've noticed that when my body, both mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, if I'm not on point, everything will be chaotic and I won't be able to show up the way that I need to in order to serve others and do things. So I think also being conscious of what are you allowing to take in that space and are you willing for that to take up space? I think is an important question to ask. Would you
I
agree?
I can't agree more with you. I cannot agree more with you. And I also think, the brain, we got to be mentally ready. We have to be mentally ready. If we're not mentally ready, when we show up every day for work, you and I, we are ready for that client. We're ready to give them our all. And the client needs to do the same thing. If they're going to show up, like, you know, they got to be ready. It's really hard. I think one of the most challenging pieces is for me is that I have, I work with these clients and they get better and then you need to see my husband or you need to see my child or you need to see my friend. And those people are not quite ready, right? They're not ready for you, or they don't really understand what you're doing, and then it becomes this little bit of a forced support, if you will. And so that's why I really do love the discovery calls, is because I can tell right then and there if somebody's really ready, um, and if they're not. And I don't make people do discovery calls. Some practitioners make people do discovery calls. I don't make people. I do think that it's beneficial when you're working with someone. And COVID, one of the beautiful endings of COVID is we can do it from afar now. You don't have to come into my office and sit in front of me. I can do this from afar. If people want the bioresonance testing, I get a hair sample from them and I run their DNA through it instead of them physically holding on. So people don't necessarily, have to lack one piece of the puzzle or another just because they're not physically present. It's a matter of utilizing what we have to create that space for each person as a whole, if that makes sense.
It completely does. And I think 2020, 2021, this space that we're in has definitely opened up so many doors to get like way better care. Like some of my favorite doctors and like brilliant practitioners are figuring out how to get online and be able to support people from all over the world. And it's been such a blessing. If I chat with somebody nutritionally and I'm like, nah, you're going to need the big guns. And that's not something that I can do, that I can refer them to people who can actually do it from wherever the person is based. So I think that's definitely been a blessing through all of this for sure.
Yeah. And you just said something super important. And I think that so many people need to hear this, because what you just said was, if I can't do it, if I don't feel like there's bigger guns out there that's going to help you, by all means, I'm going to refer you out. I am not the be all end all. I will give you what I can, but then if I see that you need something else, I am not a nutritionist. I will be the first one to tell you. I shouldn't say this. My husband does most of the cooking. I am a really good dishwasher. We eat really healthy. I mean, bless him. So nutrition is not, I know what I need to eat, but to be creative and put together this beautiful, brilliantly colored meal, not my forte. So I can say, let's eliminate dairy, let's eliminate wheat, let's eliminate gluten. Okay, great. But now what? I'm like, yeah, maybe we need to have you see a nutritionist as well. Because I really am working on other intricate parts of the body, and that I can't do it all. And so thank you for saying that, because I think it's super important to know that we don't have all the information, but what we do have, we will give to you. What we don't have, we will refer out.
Completely. What I'm noticing now, and it's changed, starting my practice in 2007 to now, people are a lot more equipped. And
Yeah.
I'm finding a lot of women know what practitioners they need. Have you noticed this too? They're like, I'm going to you for this, and I know you're good at this, and I know that you can't help me with this. And so they've created this team of people to support them. And I am all about that they show up, understanding that not one person can be everything for you. And that's just eliminated so much worry from me of just, I
Yes.
can't be all things. Have you noticed that
I
also?
can't agree with that more. The one of the problems that I find that I get stuck with a little bit is practitioners that don't want to share, and they are out there. And that's really unfortunate. And so I think it's really important for you to, like, individuals to have their team, but make sure that their team is willing to work with other practitioners, because I think it's important, because, I don't want to disrupt what you're doing with them, or what maybe another practitioner is doing with them, or say, okay, well, I know that they put you on that, but I want to take you off that and I'm going to put you on my own regimen now. No, you've got to find a team that will work together as a whole. And I feel like practitioners are getting more and more supportive that way, but I do still see some where, I'll try to get a hold of them, or I'll send them an email and I get no response. And then I'm like, well, at that point, like, I get, you either need to work with them, or you need to then work with me, or you need, like, I don't know, but that collaboration aspect is just not there. So I tell them, do your homework and figure out what's best for you right now, And so I love hearing that, because I think that there are some amazing teams out there. And I think you just have to be, have your team open and willing.
Yes, completely. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where can people find more from you, work with you? Like, where do we go to get more of your brilliance?
Well, the easiest place is to go to our website, which is simplyhealthcollective.com. And you can always email me from there. I think the email there is info@simplyhealthcollective.com. If you're in Jackson, Wyoming, look us up. You can come visit our space. I do have a 1,000 square foot wellness center. And yeah, that's where.
Okay, great. I will include all those links in the show notes so people can check it out. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
That was a blast. I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. You can find Jennifer and her practice down below, and any other links and stuff that we've wanted to include, including some of the supplements that she recommended and more. And we will see you next week for another podcast episode. Bye.